Hi, my name's Jason with cirq-rentals, and today I want to talk with you about the Snow Peak Smoke Meister. This is a really cool product that can bring some of the gourmet cooking that you do at home to your campsite or to your barbecue or to your local tailgate. It's a bit of an indulgence, but it's a really fun piece of gear, and I want to talk with you about it today. This is the Smoke Meister here, and it is really designed to be a smoker. It's a small compact smoker that you can use for anything you traditionally smoke: salmon, trout, chicken wings, appetizers. You can even do red meat in here based on how you do your portion sizes. You can do ribs on this. You could even do pork belly, and if you're willing to monitor it and spend some time with it, you can even do brisket on the Smoke Meister. But this is really great. I love smoked meat, and I love cooking while I'm camping, and so being able to have something that can just sit and slow cook while I'm enjoying camp or doing other things with my family around the campsite, really cool thing to have. And even if you're not using it as a smoker, it's a really great tool to use as a compact vertical oven to bake things like bread. You can do small mini pizzas in here. You could cook baked biscuits, brownies. Really anything that you could do in a traditional oven, you could do in this. It might be a little bit harder to get the temperature up super high, but you can really do any kind of baking. And then for reheating meals at camp, if you've got your campfire going and you've got some coals that are hot, or you've got some charcoal that's ready to go, you can throw that in here and then throw a pre-packaged or prepared meal in here and warm it up and heat it up. I've done that a lot, where I might smoke a few racks of ribs at home, slice them up into portions, and then repack them, maybe even freeze them before a camp out just to make it easier at camp. Then I can throw those in here and just warm them up right before dinner, and I don't have to do a full 4-hour, 6-hour smoke at camp. So just a really great tool, really fun to use at home and practice with, and then a great tool to have with you when you're going on a longer camp out, and you can afford to bring a little extra gear with you. We'll talk about the Smoke Meister itself. We'll talk about some of the materials that you use with it, and then we'll give you some tips at the end for some additional accessories you might want to get the most out of your Smoke Meister. And then we'll do a series of videos on different cooks that we're going to do with the Smoke Meister, as well as different recipes that you can use on the Smoke Meister, or other smoking methods that you might use around camp. So stay tuned for that. That'll be a really fun series where you can see different things that you can cook on the Smoke Meister at camp. But Smoke Meister is all stainless steel. It's about 11 pounds total, and really heavy duty, gauge stainless steel, nice natural wood wooden handle, and it really has kind of 3 main components, and then a lot of different adjustable pieces to it. So here is the main section that you'll pull out. And this is where you're going to be placing your heat source, your smoking source, as well as your food. You have 6 of these trays, and I believe they're 6 inches in diameter. So again, it's a small compact smoker. You're either going to have to do smaller types of meat that you smoke, or just really portion down your cut before you smoke it. And we'll be doing that with some larger cuts in our recipe series, like brisket or pork belly. You just cut it down into smaller sections and then smoke it that way. But you have 6 of these different trays that are removable. You can adjust them based on the size of and height of the particular food that you're cooking. Do you want your food farther away from the fire, up towards the top? Do you want it closer to the fire? If you're cooking for a lot of people, you might need all of these going at the same time. But this will easily cook for a group of 2 for sure. A family of say 4, or a group of 4 adults, you could easily smoke a meal for that size group in here. As you get to a larger group setting, you might need multiple Smoke Meisters, or you might just be doing like appetizers or hors d'oeuvres on the Smoke Meister rather than a full meal, because you just need a little bit more space. But I'd say anywhere from that 2 to 6 person range, you'd be doing all right with the Smoke Meister. So again, it comes with a 6 6 trays here that are removable and adjustable. You get a juice tray, which is nice for just catching the drippings off of the meat and food that you're cooking, especially if you've glazed it or marinated it or seasoned it somehow. That'll catch that, and you can use that later. It also helps protect those drippings from falling on your charcoal or falling from on top of your hardwood that you're smoking with, so it protects your fire a little bit. And then on the inside of the Smoke Meister, you also have this inner sleeve. And this inner sleeve is slotted at the bottom, and that allows airflow to come down through the outer chamber, warm up as it's coming down, and then enter at the bottom where your fire is going to be, where your charcoal is going to be. And also you see here your adjustment notches for these pins that you have on the inner section. And so you can adjust the height and the amount of airflow that you have into the Smoke Meister based on where you place that pin on these little sections here. So that's the inner sleeve, and then of course you have the outer sleeve, which is fully enclosed, and that's just going to house all of your heat and any ash or anything that's dripped out or fallen out of your Smoke Meister while you're cooking. So I'll show you a little bit kind of how you'll set this in. Imagine this is inside here. You'll slide your Smoke Meister down, and then of course you could really set it up on top if you wanted to. If you really wanted a lot of airflow, or you were trying to cook at a lower temperature, you might set it up this way. Maybe as you're getting your fire started, and then you can start to lower it down again, reducing the airflow. Reducing the airflow is going to hold your temperature and allow that fire to burn a little bit longer and probably at a lower temperature and smoke a little bit more. Whereas if you're getting more oxygen in there, it's going to burn faster and hotter than it otherwise would. There's one more notch, and then if you're going to fully close it, you'd have it in that lower section there. And you can see here on the bottom, you can see it kind of floating down there. It still floats. You put your fire on the trays, and so the fire comes out with you as you're adjusting, and so that's how you can adjust your temperature setting and add coals to your fire if it's cooling off, or if you want to burn it a little bit hotter. If your hardwood goes out and you're not getting as much smoke, you can add a chip or a chunk of hardwood to it as well. And then when it's in the sleeve, of course, you can see here, kind of sitting on top of the inner rim, inner screen, you got kind of the highest setting or the most airflow coming out. If we drop this down a notch, still pretty high, a lot of airflow coming through. A little bit tighter, so that's going to allow for a longer burn, more smoke. And then finally, your lowest section is really closed off, and that's probably going to put your fire out or keep it at a very, very, kind of low smoldering temperature. I'm generally cooking in that one first notch there, so that I get a little bit of airflow. You can see it kind of floats back and forth. Air can get in and down and out. Smoke can get out, but you're not totally smothering your fire there. So that's the body of the Smoke Meister. Again, really compact. Nice piece here, and it's about 18.5 inches tall, 8.5 inches in diameter, the outer section, and then again the inner sleeves here, the cooking surface is about 6 inches in diameter. It is round, so you might have to do some trimming of your different cuts of meat to accommodate the round plates here, but that's essentially how you set it up. What you're going to do to light it and get it going, you might have a campfire going, so you might be cooking coals on a campfire in your campsite. You might be using charcoal, in which case you might have a charcoal starter going, or be getting that charcoal warmed up in your fire pit. Either way, you're going to kind of get your heat source going, and then you're going to add that heat source to the bottom tray here. So in our case here, we're simulating, hot coals from the fire or hot charcoal. Yeah, I like to use the hardwood charcoal as opposed to the briquettes, but whatever type of cooking source you like. You really don't need a lot because this is such a small area, small volume. you know, 1 or 2 coals or charcoal pieces, maybe 3 is really about all you need. If you add a lot of charcoal to it, it's going to get way too hot and cook way too fast, especially if you're trying to smoke. So start with just a few and figure out what temperature you like and how that's working, and then you can always add charcoal to it as you're going. So what I generally do, I'll put the charcoal in first, and then I go ahead and put that in by itself. And let everything get up to temperature. So I want to warm up the chamber, I want to warm up the inner screen, I want to warm up all of the cooking plates. I probably have taken those cooking plates out. I might be putting my food on those, you know, on my prep table at camp while I'm going. But I'm letting the whole thing get up to temperature. Let's say I wanted to cook at 250 or 275. I'll let it get to that range. And then I like to have a few accessories with me. These thermometers, you know, you can pick them up really almost anywhere. Really common for boiling or for frying. And you know, really any length is probably going to work. The shorter one seems to work best because as you stack meat in here, you're not going to be able to get this probe super deep. But you know, for testing it early on, there's a hole, a port in the top here. You just have to kind of slide that around a little bit, but you can get that down in there. You know, it's probably somewhere around here. And then I can monitor the temperature as I'm getting everything started and up to temp. So I'd wait till that hit, you know, 250, 275, maybe even 300, because I'm going to lose some heat when I open it. You know, if I'm monitoring through my cook, I might use a smaller thermometer, something like this here. Same idea. I can just monitor throughout the cook kind of what temperature I'm at. Because you have it open, you could also run a wired or a wireless meat probe in here. So you could run that through and monitor the temperature of your meat on the interior all the time, and still have something here that's measuring the ambient temperature. But either way, you know, this could also work with like an InstaRead thermometer. You just plug it in there, you know, wait however long you feel like you need to let it stabilize and get a read on that temperature. Once you're up to temperature, you'll pull this out one last time. You'll either, you know, use your tongs and place your meat on the trays, or you might have had the trays out and pre-placed, you know, your meat on there, and so you'll go ahead and drop those in to place on here. I tend to use either a big chunk of hardwood with my charcoal to get the smoke, or depending on how much smoke you want, or you know, kind of how dense you want that, or what flavor you want, you can use wood chips as well. And you know, just throw those in there on top of your coals, or maybe do a little foil packet with your wood chips. You know, a lot of different ways you can do this. You definitely want to play with it and experiment with what you like the best. And of course, you can use any type of hardwood that you want, depending on what you're cooking. I tend to use a lot of oak. And also hickory. If I'm doing fish or trout, well, salmon or trout, any kind of fish, or chicken, I'll often use a lighter flavored wood smoke, something like alder maybe, or an apple or a cherry, something like that. But you can definitely experiment with different types of hardwood and different types of wood chips. But either way, that's basically how you set it up there. You know, get your wood chips and wood chunks in there. You'd have, you know, hot coals going. Now your wood would be smoldering and smoking. You've placed your meat on here, and then you'd place this back in. You know, get it set at the height and temperature that you want, and then just continue to monitor that temperature as you're going. And that's really about it. You can use sort of general temperature guidelines and general cook time guidelines for, you know, chicken, fish, beef, pork, whatever you might be cooking in your smoke Meister. Really cool tool to use and a whole lot of fun. We haven't used pellets with it. I've heard some people have used pellets. You know, if you have a pellet smoker at home and you've already got, you know, bags and bags of pellets, if you're going to do that, I would recommend something like this to maybe put your pellets in, or even with your wood chips. You know, kind of pack this full of wood chips or pellets or whatever, so you get a little more burn time and smoke time out of them than you might if they were just resting on the coals. So this might be a nice thing to have. All right, so we get that going. Depending on how high we've got our fire in there, you know, I might be able to get one more tray in here, or I may not. It would just depend. But then I'd put my juice tray in here, and that's going to protect my fire a little bit. It's also going to collect any, juice that I can use later to reglaze or put that back on top of my meal before I serve it. And then I'll slide this back in. Then I'll slide that back in and just continue to monitor it throughout my cook. And I could be playing with the kids or hanging out by the campfire doing what else I might be doing at camp while we're waiting for this to cook our meal. Really fun tool to use at home and at the campsite. If you tailgate, this is a really cool way to impress your friends with an awesome smoker that's portable and easy to use. And it's nice because you can use charcoal and wood chips and things that you already have for your smokers and cookers at home. The other thing I really like about this is that it's small. We have a full-size smoker at home. I love using it. It's so much fun. But oftentimes, if I'm just cooking for the family and we're not having a gathering or a lot of people over, it seems kind of wasteful to fire it up, burn all the wood, and smoke for 1 or 2 racks of ribs, or some chicken wings, or a chicken breast, or even one pork belly, or pork shoulder. Sometimes it just feels like a waste to get that whole smoker going. Whereas this is smaller and compact. If I'm just doing one meal, if it's just for my wife and I, or if it's for my kids and I can get this going and cook on this and not have to fire up the full-size smoker and waste all that energy and materials and everything, and just kind of keep it all contained in here. So really great for the campground and for traveling and for tailgating, but can also be a really good addition to your barbecue kit at home when you want to cook something that's a little bit smaller and not use all of your resources at home. One other cool thing I want to show you about the Smoke Meister here is that you might be doing chicken wings or chicken breasts or smaller portions on your trays, but you can also smoke vertically in here. So if you have some sausages that you're smoking, or if you have a few trout that you've caught in your camp, or even a smaller salmon that you're cooking, you can also use hooks and smoke vertically. So in that case, you'd want to use one of your trays here. You would hook your little S hooks in here. Let's say we've got 3 little sausages or 3 little trout that we've caught, and we're doing a shore lunch or camp cook. You'd go ahead and put your S hooks in here. You'd load this on the very top tray here, top tray mount at least, like this. And obviously, you could use shorter hooks here, but you can definitely smoke vertically in here, which is a really nice option to have. I think these are probably 5-inch hooks. You'd want to use probably 2-inch or 1-inch hook, something like that, if you're doing a trout in here. If you're doing sausages or bratwurst or something like that, you could easily hang those in here on some longer hooks like this. But that's just one other additional way that you can cook on the Smoke Meister. And that's the Smoke Meister by Snow Peak. These are available for rent or demo at cirq-rentals.com. I'm Jason. Thanks for watching.